The sky over Musutafu looked normal for half a second. Then it tore. It was not a cloud. It was not smoke. It was like a bright cut in the air, stretched wide like a door made of light. People on the street stopped walking. A few pointed. Someone screamed. Phones came up fast. A blonde woman dropped out of the tear. She did not flail. She did not spin. She fell with her arms close to her sides, eyes open, face calm. She hit the air like she expected the ground to be there. She landed in the middle of the street with a sharp crack. The pavement broke under her boots. A small ring of stone jumped up, then fell back down like heavy rain. Cars skidded, horns blared, people ran. The woman stood up straight. Not hurt, not even bothered. She looked around like she was counting exits. The street was loud. A hero society street was always loud. There were billboards. There were safety signs. There were cameras on poles. There were people wearing hero merch, even on a random afternoon. Everything had a rule. The blonde woman's eyes moved from the signs to the crowds to the tall buildings. Her face did not change, but her head tilted a little, as if she was listening to something no one else could hear. Then the next problem hit. A delivery truck on the far side of the intersection exploded into smoke. Not a normal engine burst, a quirk blast. The metal box folded, then snapped outward. A wave of force shoved people off their feet. Glass cracked in windows. A traffic light bent. From the smoke, a man in a mask laughed and threw his hands up. Pieces of road lifted like loose tiles around him. "Get back!" a civilian yelled. A young mother froze near the crosswalk. Her stroller tipped onto one wheel. The baby inside cried. The blonde woman's head turned toward them. She moved. Most people did not even see her step. One moment she was in the center of the street. The next moment, she was beside the stroller, one hand steadying it, the other hand gripping the mother's arm and pulling her back. The force wave hit the area a second later. The mother should have been thrown. She wasn't. The blonde woman held her in place like the wind was nothing. Concrete fragments slapped into the air around them. A large chunk flew straight toward the stroller. The blonde woman lifted her palm and fired a short, clean beam of light. The beam was thin. It did not explode. It did not spread. It tapped the chunk once and pushed it sideways, like someone flicked it with a finger. The chunk slammed into a parked car instead. The car crumpled. No one screamed this time because no one had time. The masked villain saw her. His laugh died. What quirk is that?" he shouted. The blonde woman did not answer. She walked toward him at a normal pace, like she had all day. He lifted both hands again. The road shook. A wave of broken asphalt surged up toward her like a wall. She jumped. Not high for a hero, high like she ignored gravity. Her body rose above the wall. For one clear second, she hovered in the air. People stared up with open mouths. Then she dropped down behind the villain and struck him once in the back of the neck. It was not a flashy hit. It was fast, and it was placed perfectly. The villain's eyes rolled. His legs folded. He hit the ground and didn't move. The street went silent in a strange way. Not fully silent. Sirens still wailed far away. People still breathed. But the feeling changed, like the whole block was waiting for someone to tell them what to do next. The blonde woman looked down at the broken pavement and the dented car. Then she looked toward the nearest camera pole. Her voice was calm, almost bored. "Who's paying for that?" Behind the crowd, a man in a long coat stepped onto the sidewalk with tired eyes and a scarf around his neck. Shota Aizawa's gaze locked onto the blonde woman. His posture stayed loose, but his mind didn't. This was not a normal villain. And if this was a quirk, it was the kind that made rules feel small. Aizawa's capture scarf uncoiled slightly, ready. High above, on another rooftop, a pair of red wings fluttered in a careful landing. Hawks watched the scene with a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. A woman fell out of a rip in the sky. She stopped a quirk criminal without even breathing hard. And she just asked about property damage like she was filing a report. Hawks tapped his earpiece. "Yeah," he said quietly. "We've got something new. And I mean, new. Far away, in a dark room where no cameras were allowed to see, another pair of eyes opened. A smile formed where no smile should have been. Something had arrived, and the world had noticed. Aizawa approached first because Aizawa always approached first. He didn't rush, he didn't shout, he didn't try to look brave. He just walked in, eyes sharp, body ready, and scarf loose like a snake waiting for a command. "Everyone back," he called to the crowd without turning his head. Heroes will handle it. Some people obeyed right away. Some didn't. Phones stayed up. A few kids peeked between legs. The blonde woman didn't move. She watched Aizawa, then watched Hawks on the rooftop, then glanced at the sirens closing in. Her face stayed flat, but her eyes were active, always checking. Aizawa stopped at a safe distance. "You," he said. "Hands where I can see them." She raised both hands, palms open. No fear, no attitude, just a smooth, simple motion, like she was proving a point. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. He activated his quirk. His stare was his weapon. Most people with quirks felt it right away. Their power cut off like a light switch. The blonde woman didn't change. She didn't stumble. She didn't blink hard. She didn't flinch. Aizawa held the stare for a beat longer, then let it go. Hawks dropped down to street level, landing light on his feet. He kept his voice easy. "Hey," Hawks said, hands up in a friendly way. "You saved people. That's good. But you're not in the system, so we need to talk." The blonde woman looked at him like he was a person trying to sell her something. "What system?" she asked. Hawks blinked once. "Hero system." Aizawa stepped in a fraction. "Name," she hesitated, just for a second. Not because she was scared, because she was deciding what mattered. "You can call me 18, she said. It was not a full lie. It was not the full truth either. Aizawa did not relax. Hawks kept the same tone, but his wings shifted, feathers ready. 18, Hawks repeated. "Okay, where did you come from?" 18 looked up at the skeeter. It was shrinking now. The bright edge flickered like a dying screen. Wind pulled at it. The cut in the air tried to close. "I didn't come here on purpose," she said. Aizawa's scarf twitched. "You fell out of the sky and used an unknown power in public." 18's eyes went to the unconscious villain. He was trying to crush people. I stopped him. "That doesn't answer the question," Aizawa said. 18 tilted her head again, listening. This world sounded different. No familiar energy patterns, no normal threats she recognized. It felt quiet, in the wrong way. "I'm not from your city," she said, "or your country, or your world." Hawks exhaled softly. "Right. That's a big statement." Aizawa stared at her like he was making a list inside his head. Threat. Unknown. Not affected by erasure. Able to fly. Energy beam. Extreme speed. Controlled force. Calm under pressure. If she was lying, she was doing it too well. If she wasn't lying, this was worse. Sirens arrived. Pro-heroes and police formed a ring, but it was a ring made of habit, not power. They held positions that worked on normal people. 18 noticed. Aizawa did too. Hawks took a step sideways so he wasn't in a straight line with anyone else. "Here's the deal," Hawks said. "You can walk away right now, and we can't stop you. I think you know that." 18's eyes flicked to him. Like, yes. I know. But if you walk away, Hawks continued, everyone will panic. And then the wrong people will chase you. If you come with us, we can explain things. Somewhere safe. No crowds? 18 looked around at the phones. The fear. The broken street. She didn't like being watched. She didn't like being treated like a problem. But she needed information. Safe for who? She asked. Hawks gave a small smile. For everyone. Aizawa added, flat and honest. And so we can make sure you don't hurt anyone. 18's hands lowered. I don't hurt people unless they force it. Aizawa didn't react to the promise. He had heard promises before. Hawks offered a direction with his hand. We'll go to a place that can handle questions. 18 glanced at the dented car again. And the damage, she said. Who covers that? Hawks laughed once, quick and surprised. We'll talk about that too. Aizawa didn't laugh. He just turned, leading the way. 18 followed. Not because she had to, because she chose to. The secure facility was not called a prison, but it was built like one in the ways that mattered. Thick walls, quiet halls, doors that locked with a heavy sound. Cameras placed at angles that left no blind spots. 18 noticed all of it. She didn't comment. She just stored it. Nezu met them in a clean room with a table and seats placed carefully apart. He looked like a small animal in a suit, which would have been funny if his eyes weren't so sharp. He offered tea. 18 did not touch it. Hawks sat on the edge of a chair like he could fly away in the middle of a sentence. Aizawa leaned back. Tired posture, awake mind. Nezu clasped his hands. Welcome, Nezu said warmly. We don't often receive visitors who arrive through the sky. 18 looked at him. You're in charge? Nezu smiled. In this building? Often, yes. In the whole world? No. 18 nodded once. Good. Then you can answer simple questions. Nezu's ears lifted slightly. Of course. 18's voice stayed level. Where am I? Japan, Nezu said. A city called Musutafu. 18 waited. And what kind of world is this? She asked. Hawks glanced at Aizawa like, do we do the speech? Nezu answered like he had practiced it. Most people here have special abilities, he said. We call them quirks. Heroes are licensed to use their quirks to protect the public. 18's eyes narrowed. Licensed? Yes, Nezu said. There are laws. 18 leaned back a little. So if someone is strong, they need permission to help. Hawks raised a hand. It's more like... It's exactly like that, 18 said, cutting him off. Not rude, just direct. You're telling me you put power in a box and called it order. Aizawa's eyes sharpened. Order stops chaos. 18 looked at him. So does ending a threat fast. Aizawa didn't blink. Nezu stepped in smoothly. We are not here to argue philosophy yet. We are here to understand you. 18 tilted her head. Then ask. Nezu's smile softened. What are you? Hawks tried not to look too interested. Aizawa didn't try at all. 18's gaze drifted to a camera in the corner, then back to Nezu. I'm not a quirk user, she said. Aizawa's scarf shifted slightly, ready for movement. Nezu asked, Then what makes you able to do what you did? 18 spoke in clean beats, like she was giving only what was needed. I was changed, she said. A long time ago. Hawks's face tightened. Just a little. By who? Nezu asked. Scientists, 18 said. Her voice stayed flat, but something colder sat under it. Not nice ones. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. Experiment. 18 did not deny it. They tried to make a weapon. They failed. I kept my mind. Nezu nodded slowly, taking it in. And your power? Nezu asked. 18's fingers tapped the table once. I can fly. I'm strong. I move fast. I can fire energy. Hawks whistled softly. That's a whole package. 18 looked at him. And I don't get tired the way you do? Aizawa's eyes tightened. That was a problem. Nezu's voice stayed gentle. Do you have a name? 18 paused again. The real name felt like a chain. Names could be used. Names could be filed. 18 is fine, she said. Nezu didn't push. Not yet. He moved to the next step. We would like to do a few simple tests. 18's eyes went flat. Tests. To see what level of danger you are, Aizawa said. 18 looked at him. I'm not here to be your threat chart. Hawks lifted both hands. Nobody's trying to disrespect you. But you arrived out of nowhere. People will panic if we don't have answers. 18's gaze slid to Nezu. And if I say no? Aizawa answered without hesitation. Then we assume worst case. 18 stared at him for a long moment. Then she stood. The air in the room tightened. 18 walked to the wall and placed her palm on it. Thick metal under paint. Reinforced. She pressed. Slowly. The wall dented inward. Not a crack. A clean inward curve like soft clay. Hawk's eyes widened. Okay, yep, strong. 18 pulled her hand away. The wall stayed dented. She looked back at them. That's the test. Nezu's smile stayed, but his mind was working fast. A useful start, Nezu said. But we also need to know how you behave. 18 sat again. I behave fine, Aizawa said. You knocked someone out in public. He was about to kill people, 18 replied. Hawks leaned forward. How many people have you fought? 18's eyes drifted to the floor for a second, like she was counting memories she didn't want. A lot, she said. Some were monsters. Some were worse because they were human. The room stayed quiet. Then the door opened. A tall man stepped in, broad shoulders, gentle eyes, a smile that carried weight. Even in his thin form, Toshinori Yagi filled the room. All might. Hawk straightened. Aizawa didn't change posture, but his focus sharpened. 18 looked at All Might and didn't show surprise. She had seen symbols before. She could feel what he was trying to be. All Might bowed his head slightly, respectful. Thank you for saving civilians today. 18 studied him. You're the top hero. All Might smiled. In a way, 18's gaze narrowed. You're injured. All Might's smile flickered for half a second. Hawks looked away. Aizawa's eyes hardened. Nezu stayed still, but his ears angled. 18 continued, calm, like she was stating the weather. You act like a wall, but you're cracked. All Might's voice stayed warm. Perhaps, but even cracked walls can shelter people. 18 didn't respond to the line. She wasn't impressed by speeches, but she respected honesty. All Might took a seat across from her, hands resting open. I want to understand you, he said, not to control you, to help you. 18's eyes stayed on him. Help me how? All Might answered simply. You are alone here. That is dangerous. 18's face didn't move, but something in her chest tightened anyway. She hated the word alone, because it was true. Nezu used the opening. We can offer you a place to stay, Nezu said, temporarily, a safe environment, and information. Aizawa added, with conditions. 18 looked at him. Of course. Hawks tried a softer angle. You'll be under observation, but it won't be a cage. 18's eyes flicked to the cameras again. Observation, she repeated. Sounds like a cage with better words. Nezu said, we can also discuss compensation. 18's head turned back to him, sharp. Compensation, she echoed, like that word finally made sense in this place. Hawks chuckled. She's serious about that. 18's voice stayed flat. If you want me to do dangerous work, there should be rules. And pay. Aizawa frowned. This isn't a job application. It is, if you want my cooperation, 18 said. All Might's mouth twitched like he almost smiled. I can respect that. Nezu leaned in, eyes bright. Then let us do this in a clear way. You help us understand the situation. We help you survive it. 18 held Nezu's gaze. Fine, she said. But no one touches me. No one opens me up. No one tries to fix me. Hawk's face turned serious. We don't do that. 18's eyes went cold. Don't lie to me. The room chilled. All Might's voice stayed steady. We will not harm you. 18 watched him for a long moment, then nodded once. Okay, she said. I'll play along, for now. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. For now. 18 stood again. Where do I sleep? Nezu's ears perked. We have a secure guest room. 18's gaze sharpened. Secure for who? Hawk sighed. Both. 18 walked toward the door like she already owned the space. Not arrogant, just unafraid. Aizawa followed at a distance, watching every step. He didn't trust her. Not yet. As they moved down the hall, Hawks leaned close to Nezu and whispered. She didn't react to erasure. Nezu whispered back, yes. Hawks's voice dropped lower. So what is she? Nezu's smile stayed, but it didn't look cute anymore. A world-class variable, Nezu murmured. Far away, in another place where light didn't reach, a man listened to a report from a shaking villain. A blonde woman, the villain said. She flew. She fired beams. She moved like she wasn't even there. The man in the dark laughed softly. All Might has a new problem, All for One said. How delightful. He lifted a hand and traced a shape in the air, like drawing a plan. Do not fight her head on, he told his people. Not yet. A pause. Bring me information, he said. Bring me fear. Bring me the story the public will believe. Another pause. And prepare a body, he added. One that can survive long enough to learn. By the next morning, the rumors had already grown teeth. Some people said the stranger was a secret hero from overseas. Some said she was a villain experiment. Some said it was the end of the world. News channels replayed shaky phone videos of her hovering in the air and of the thin beam that saved the stroller. UA was not a normal school. It was a fortress with a campus. Still, the air felt different. Students whispered in halls. Teachers moved faster. Security checked doors twice. Izuku Midoriya tried to act normal and failed. He sat in class, eyes forward, notebook open. But his mind kept spinning. Flight without visible support. Energy projection without a quirk signal. Speed that didn't match muscle strain. No fear response. High control. He wanted to meet her. He also felt scared, and that scared him too, because he was used to feeling inspired by power, not threatened by it. After training, he found Aizawa in the staff corridor. Aizawa-sensei, Izuku said quickly, bowing. Aizawa looked at him with tired eyes. No, Izuku froze. I didn't even ask. I know what you want, Aizawa said. And the answer is no. Izuku's face fell. But she saved people. That doesn't make her safe, Aizawa said. Izuku swallowed. She didn't hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. Aizawa stared at him. You're thinking like a fan. Start thinking like a professional. Izuku's cheeks went red. I am. Aizawa's voice stayed flat. Then you should understand. If she loses control once, people die. A lot of people. Izuku's hands clenched. What if she doesn't lose control? What if she's just lost? Aizawa paused. Just for a moment, The hard teacher mask thinned. Then it returned. "We're handling it," Aizawa said. "Focus on your training." Izuku nodded, but he didn't feel settled. He felt like a door had opened in the sky, and the world was pretending it could close it with paperwork. That night, 18 sat alone in her guest room. It was clean. It was quiet. It had no windows. She didn't need sleep. Not like humans did. She lay on the bed anyway, staring at the ceiling. She listened to the building. She heard guards walking. She heard cameras clicking softly as they adjusted. She heard distant voices. She had lived under control once, real control. Cold hands, cold rooms, people looking at her like a project. This place wasn't that. But it could become that. She closed her eyes, not to sleep, but to think. If she stayed, she needed rules that protected her. If she left, the world would chase her, and the wrong people would find her first. She didn't know which was worse. A knock came at the door. 18 didn't move. "It's open." The door slid aside. Nezu stepped in, holding a file folder that looked too normal for what was inside it. "I thought you might like something," Nezu said. 18 sat up. "If it's a test, no." Nezu smiled. "Not a test, a list." 18 narrowed her eyes. "A list of what?" Nezu held up the folder. "Laws, rights, and responsibilities." 18's mouth tightened. "You expect me to read your rules?" "I expect you to protect yourself," Nezu said. 18 paused. Then she reached out and took the folder. Nezu continued, gentle but clear. "If the government decides you are a threat, they will act." 18's eyes flicked up. "And you?" Nezu's smile softened. "I will do what I can to keep this place from becoming cruel." 18 looked down at the papers. "Can you?" Nezu's eyes stayed sharp. "I can try." 18 snorted once, very quiet. "That's not comforting." Nezu chuckled. "No, but it is honest." He turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing," Nezu said. "Some people will want to use you." 18's gaze hardened. "Let them try." Nezu's voice stayed calm. "I believe you would survive. I worry about everyone else." 18 watched him go. Then she opened the folder. The words were long and annoying. The rules were tangled, but she kept reading anyway, because she had learned the hard way that laws could hurt as much as fists, and because she knew, deep down, that someone in this world was already planning how to put her in a box. She planned to make that difficult. The attack came 2 days later, because that was enough time for fear to settle in. It hit in a place designed for cameras, a shopping district street with wide sidewalks, a hero patrol route, a crowd. Hawks was already there, pretending to be casual, because the commission wanted him close to the anomaly at all times. Aizawa was there too, hidden in plain clothes, scarf tucked away under a jacket. And 18 was there, because Nezu had allowed a controlled outing, with rules. No public hero work. No fights. No leaving the escort. 18 walked between them like she didn't care. She did care. She just didn't show it. Hawks talked lightly as they moved. "So, you really don't get tired?" 18 glanced at him. "Not the way you do." Hawks smiled. "Must be nice." 18's voice stayed flat. "It's useful." Aizawa scanned rooftops. "Stop talking." Hawks rolled his eyes. "You're fun." 18 looked at a billboard showing a smiling hero holding a child. "What happens if a hero breaks a building?" she asked. Hawks blinked. Depends." 18 frowned. "Depends on what?" Hawks shrugged. "Public opinion, paperwork, if the hero is popular." 18's eyes narrowed. "So the rule is, be liked." Aizawa muttered, "Not always." 18's mouth tightened. "That's worse." Hawks chuckled. but it came out tense. Then the crowd screamed. A black blur crashed into the street ahead, smashing into the pavement with a boom that shook the air. Dust jumped. People ran in every direction. Out of the dust rose a creature shaped like a man, but wrong in every detail. Too many muscles, too many seams, eyes that didn't look alive. A Nomu. Aizawa's heart sank. They were bringing these out again, not in secret, not in alleys, in public, on purpose. Hawk's feathers lifted like blades. "Evacuate," he shouted to the nearest heroes. 18 stared at the creature, head slightly tilted. It didn't feel like a normal fighter. It felt like a machine wearing meat. Her eyes narrowed. "What is that?" she asked. "A monster made by villains," Hawk said fast. "Don't." The Nomu moved. It launched forward with insane speed, not toward Hawks or Aizawa, but toward the crowd. It was going for the soft targets. 18 moved first. She vanished from Hawks's sight. Hawks's eyes widened. Even he, fast as he was, lost her for a split second. 18 appeared in front of the Nomu, between it and the crowd. The Nomu swung a fist the size of a cinder block. 18 caught it with one hand. The impact cracked the street under her feet. Dust puffed up. People screamed again. 18 didn't slide back. She looked at the Nomu's arm like she was judging its build. "Strong," she said, "but sloppy." Then she twisted her wrist. The Nomu's arm bent at the wrong angle. It didn't scream. It didn't react like pain existed. It tried to swing with the other fist. 18 stepped inside the swing and hit the Nomu in the ribs with a short punch. The Nomu flew across the street, slammed through a bus stop, and tore a hole in the wall behind it. The crowd froze in shock. Hawks felt a chill. That was not quirk strong. That was don't blink strong. Aizawa's eyes locked on the Nomu. He activated Erasure, trying to shut down whatever quirk mix it carried. The Nomu's movement stuttered. Good. Then it kept moving anyway, dragging itself out of the wall with brute force. Aizawa's stomach dropped again. Even erased, it was still a problem. And now 18 had shown the cameras exactly what she could do. A villain in the crowd lifted a device and snapped a picture. The flash was small, but 18 saw it. Her eyes turned. Sharp. The villain ran. 18 could have crossed the street and caught him before his foot hit the ground. She didn't. Because the Nomu roared and leaped again, this time toward a group of kids who had fallen near a storefront. 18's jaw tightened. She moved to the kids instead. Hawks saw the choice and understood. The villains wanted this. They wanted her to chase the wrong target so they could claim she didn't care about civilians. 18 reached the kids and lifted them all at once, one under each arm, and one balanced against her side like it weighed nothing. She carried them behind a concrete pillar and set them down gently. "Stay there," she ordered. Not harsh, just firm. The kids nodded, eyes wide. Then 18 stepped back out. The Nomu landed in front of her again, fists raised. This time it didn't just swing. Its chest opened. A hard spike of air pressure blasted out like a cannon, aimed not at 18, but at the building behind her. The wall cracked. Glass exploded. Hawk's eyes widened. "It's trying to collapse the structure." Aizawa's mind raced. The Nomu wasn't trying to win. It was trying to force chaos. 18 looked back at the shaking building. Then she looked at the Nomu. Her expression didn't change, but her voice went colder. "You're trying to make me hurt people," she said. The Nomu charged. 18 didn't dodge this time. She stepped forward and met it. Her fist slammed into its stomach. A shockwave rolled outward. Street signs rattled. A few people fell. The Nomu's body folded around her punch. It launched backward and hit the ground hard enough to make a crater. It tried to rise again. 18 lifted one hand and fired a beam. wider than the first one, but still controlled. The beam hit the Nomu's shoulder and pinned it to the ground, melting the street beneath it in a tight line. The crowd gasped. Hawks felt his feathers twitch. He had seen Endeavor burn villains. He had seen All Might smash through walls. But this was different. This was quiet power. Like she could decide how much the world was allowed to break. Aizawa shouted, "Everyone, clear the area! Now!" Pro-heroes moved, pushing crowds back. Hawks's feathers flew out, forming a shield to block flying debris and guide people away. 18 kept her beam on the Nomu. "Why isn't it stopping?" she asked. Aizawa's eyes stayed locked, dry from not blinking. "Because it's built to keep going." 18 clicked her tongue. "Annoying." Then the Nomu's head snapped up, its mouth opened. A pulse hit the air. 18 felt it like a sudden static pressure. Not pain, not damage, interference. For a tiny moment, the energy inside her stuttered, not shut down, just disturbed. 18's eyes narrowed hard. That was new. Hawk saw her expression change and felt his stomach tighten. Aizawa saw it too. The Nomu had a purpose beyond strength. It was testing her. From a rooftop across the street, a figure watched through a scope. A voice crackled in an earpiece. "Phase 1 confirmed," the voice said. "Tell the doctor," the watcher whispered. "She reacts to the pulse. Not enough. But she reacts." Back on the street, the Nomu surged forward again, faster, like it had saved its real speed for now. 18 met it with a rising knee to the chest. The Nomu lifted off the ground. 18 grabbed its head with both hands and drove it down into the pavement. The street cratered again. Still, the Nomu's arms moved. It grabbed at her forearms, trying to lock her in place. Then its back split open. Dark tendrils, like thick cables, whipped out toward her. Aizawa's eyes widened. "Move!" 18 moved anyway. She let go and stepped back, faster than the tendrils could catch. One cable brushed her sleeve. It tore the fabric, but didn't touch skin. 18 stared at the cable. Then she stared at the Nomu. "You're trying to grab me," she said, "to take me somewhere." The Nomu lunged again. 18's patience broke. She launched upward, straight into the air, rising above the street in a clean vertical line. The crowd looked up. Cameras followed. Hawks flew after her, half to help, half to keep her in sight. "Hey," Hawks called. "Try not to—" 18 didn't answer. She looked down at the Nomu, small from up here. Then she pointed one finger. A beam shot down, brighter than before. It hit the Nomu dead center and blasted it through the street like a drill. The ground exploded upward in a narrow ring. Dust rose. The Nomu vanished into the hole. Hawks flinched. He expected the whole block to collapse. It didn't. 18 had kept the blast tight, like she was cutting a single thread. Aizawa watched from below, eyes still fixed, still erasing, sweat starting to form at his temple. The dust settled. A rumble came from the hole. The Nomu sprang back out, body cracked and smoking, but still moving. 18 hovered, arms crossed for a moment, as if she couldn't believe it. "That's ridiculous," she muttered. Then her eyes shifted. She saw another thing. A second Nomu. This one had been hidden behind a building corner. It wasn't charging her. It was charging the crowd again, using the panic. Hawks's feathers shot out, slicing the air in a line to stop it. The Nomu barreled through the feathers like they were paper. Hawks grimaced, pain flashing, but he stayed in the air. "Aizawa!" Hawks shouted. "It's got armor!" Aizawa snapped his gaze to the second Nomu. It stumbled as its quirks shut off, but it still kept moving. 18's eyes hardened. She dropped from the sky like a stone. She landed in front of the second Nomu and hit it with a palm strike to the chest. The Nomu flew back, smashed into a storefront, and collapsed in a heap. 18 didn't stop there. She appeared beside it, grabbed its leg, and swung it like a hammer into the ground once. The street cracked. The Nomu's body went still. Not dead. Not destroyed. Just shut down enough to stop. 18 stood up and brushed dust from her sleeve, annoyed at the torn fabric. Hawks landed nearby, breathing hard. "Okay," he said, voice tight. "That was a lot." 18 looked at him. This was a test. Hawks's smile disappeared. Aizawa approached, scarf ready, eyes still sharp. "You figured that out fast," Aizawa said. 18's gaze moved over the crowd, over the cameras, over the heroes trying to look calm. "Someone wanted the public to see me," she said. "Someone wanted me to lose control." Aizawa didn't deny it. "Yes." 18's voice went flat again, but the calm now had a hard edge. "Then tell your system something," she said. "If they keep dragging me into staged disasters, the bill goes up." Hawks blinked. "The bill?" 18 pointed at the destroyed bus stop, the cracked street, the broken storefront. "You have insurance, right?" she said. "Or do you just smile for the cameras and hope the city forgives you?" A few nearby civilians heard it. Some even laughed, shaky and confused. Aizawa didn't laugh at all, because he knew the worst part wasn't the damage. The worst part was that 18 had done all of that while holding back, and now the villains had proof. Far away, in the dark, All for One listened to the report. 2 Nomu. Both neutralized. Public fear rising. Public awe rising too. A strange variable that could not be erased. He smiled wider. "She isn't a weapon we can swing," he said softly. "Not yet." He leaned back, fingers tapping his chair. "So we will do what humans always do," he continued. "We will make her a story." Outside, on the street, 18 looked up at the sky where the tear had once been. Her eyes narrowed like she could stare through worlds. She didn't know who was pulling strings here, but she could feel it now. This place had heroes. This place had monsters. And this place had people who would try to put a leash on anything that scared them. 18's voice was quiet, only for herself. "Fine," she said. "Let's see who tries." The city did what it always did after something scary happened. It tried to explain it in the simplest way it could. By morning, every screen had the same shaky clips, the blonde woman hovering above the street, the narrow beam drilling into the ground, the Nomu getting slammed down like it weighed nothing, the crowd screaming, Hawks shouting orders, Aizawa's scarf snapping across the frame. Some channels called her a new pro-hero. Others called her a foreign villain. One headline used the word weapon in big red letters. Hawks sat in a quiet room at commission headquarters and watched the same clip on loop. He didn't like how clean it looked. Not the damage. The control. The camera made it seem like she chose the amount of fear the world was allowed to have. A commission official with perfect hair and a calm smile leaned forward. "We need a statement," the official said. "Right now." Hawks kept his voice light. "A statement saying what?" "Don't panic. The sky dropped a superwoman into Japan?" The official didn't smile back. "Something that keeps order." Hawks looked at the next screen. A poll was already running. "Trust her?" "Yes, no." The no bar was growing fast. "We can't lie," Hawks said. "We can frame," the official replied. "Carefully. She cooperates. She's under supervision. The public is safe." Hawks tapped the table with one finger. "And if she refuses supervision?" The official's eyes didn't blink. "Then we redefine what safe means." Hawks didn't like that answer, but it wasn't a surprise. The commission didn't hate heroes. It hated uncertainty. Hawks stood. "I'll talk to her," he said. But don't push her like a button. If you corner her, she'll do what cornered people do." The official tilted their head. "Run." Hawks's smile turned thin. "No. She'll end the problem." He left before they could ask what he meant. On the way out, his phone buzzed with a message from a field contact. There had been a man in the crowd during the Nomu attack. Not a civilian. Not a reporter. Someone who watched the whole fight without flinching. Hawks saved the photo. He didn't recognize the face. That made it worse. Izawa stood in a UA briefing room with a dry throat and tired eyes. The staff sat around the table like they were waiting for bad news, because they were. Nezu had a screen up. It showed maps, timelines, and the same public clips. He had already paused the video at a moment where 18 hovered in the air, hair barely moving, like wind didn't get a vote. "All right," Nezu said. "We speak plainly. The Nomu attack was designed for visibility." Present Mike scowled. "So they wanted attention." Aizawa's voice was flat. "They wanted a reaction. From her." All Might sat quietly in his thin form, hands clasped. He looked smaller than usual, but his presence still filled the room. "They were testing her," All Might said. Aizawa nodded once. "Yes." Recovery Girl frowned. "Can she be hurt?" Aizawa glanced at the dented wall report, at the crater photos, at the beam that drilled into the street. "I don't know," he said. "Not in ways we can handle." Nezu tapped the screen. "We also have a second problem. The public is already splitting into camps." On the screen, 2 phrases trended side by side. "Save her. Arrest her." Nezu's smile stayed polite, but his eyes sharpened. "If the commission moves too hard," Nezu said, "they may create the villain they fear." Aizawa's jaw tightened. "Or she becomes a villain because she is bored." All Might's eyes narrowed. "Shota." Aizawa didn't look away. "Power that doesn't belong anywhere finds a place. If it can't find a place, it makes one." Nezu's ears twitched. "Which is why we must give her a place that doesn't become a cage." Aizawa looked at Nezu. "She already thinks it's a cage." Nezu nodded. "Then we change the shape of the cage." Present Mike blinked. "That's not comforting." Nezu's smile tilted. "It is strategy." All Might stood slowly. "Let me speak with her again." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "She doesn't respond to erasure. If she decides you're a problem, you can't stop her." All Might's voice stayed calm. "Then I must make sure she never decides that." Aizawa didn't argue. He just looked tired. Nezu turned his gaze to Aizawa. "And Shota," Nezu added, "we need to keep our students away from her, for now." Aizawa agreed, but his mind already knew it wouldn't hold. Kids at UA chased danger the way moths chased light, especially one kid, especially Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya stood outside the guest hallway like he was trying not to breathe too loud. He knew he shouldn't be there. He also knew he had to be, because that woman didn't fight like a villain. She didn't even fight like a hero. She fought like someone who had already seen the worst and decided she would not let it happen again. That was something Izuku understood. He raised a hand to knock. The door slid open before his knuckles touched it. 18 stood there, arms crossed. Her eyes moved over him once. "You're the green-haired kid," she said. Izuku froze, then bowed so fast he nearly hit his own chest. "Yes. Yes, ma'am." "Sorry. I'm Izuku Midoriya. I'm a student here. Why are you here?" 18 asked. Direct. No small talk. Izuku swallowed. "I wanted to thank you for saving those people. And I wanted to ask questions." 18 stared at him like she was checking if he was a trap. Then she stepped aside. 2 minutes, she said. "Then you leave." Izuku stepped in like the room might bite him. It was clean. It was simple. It felt temporary. 18 sat on the bed, back straight, like resting was a choice she was pretending to make. Izuku stayed standing. "Do you sleep?" he blurted. 18's eyes narrowed. "That's your question?" Izuku's face turned red. "I mean, sorry. I was wondering because your stamina, your recovery, I can rest," she said. "I don't need it the way you do." Izuku nodded, scribbling in his mental notebook. "Your quirk," he began. 18's gaze sharpened. "I don't have one." Izuku blinked hard. "But everyone in your world," 18 corrected. "Not in mine." Izuku's heart kicked. "You're really from another world," he whispered. 18 watched him carefully. "Do you think I'm lying?" Izuku shook his head fast. "No. I think you're telling the truth. Because if you were lying, you would pick a lie that made sense here." 18 stared at him for a beat. Then she gave a short sound that was almost a laugh. "Smart," she said. Izuku swallowed again. "Are you okay?" 18's face didn't soften, but her eyes shifted slightly, like she had heard the word before and didn't like what it carried. "I'm fine," she said. Izuku didn't push. He tried a different angle. "Back there," he said. "When the Nomu attacked, you chose the kids first, even though you could have caught the person taking pictures." 18's voice stayed flat. "Yes." "Why?" Izuku asked. 18 looked at him like the question was strange. "Because kids can't run fast enough," she said. "And the other one could." Izuku's chest tightened. He nodded. "That makes you," he began. 18 cut him off. "Don't." Izuku froze. "Don't what?" "Don't turn me into a title," she said. "Don't call me hero. Don't call me villain. Your world does that to people and then acts surprised when they break." Izuku's mouth opened, then closed. He thought of Todoroki's eyes when people called him Endeavor's son. He thought of Shinso being called villain-like. He thought of how quickly the world decided who you were. "I understand," he said quietly. 18 watched him, and for the first time her voice lowered. "You don't," she said. "Not fully, but you're trying. That's better than most." Izuku nodded again, then remembered the time limit. "One more question," he said. "What do you want?" 18's eyes moved toward the door, toward the cameras she knew were there. "I want to go home," she said, "and I want nobody to ever control me again." Izuku's throat tightened. "We can help." 18's gaze snapped back to him. "You can't promise that," she said. Izuku didn't flinch. "I can promise I'll try." 18 held his gaze for a long moment. Then she stood. "Time," she said. Izuku stepped back toward the door, heart pounding. Before he left, he blurted, "Also, about the damage. I heard you asked who pays. Heroes. Sometimes get sued. There's insurance. It's complicated." 18's eyes narrowed. "Complicated is how people hide unfair rules." Izuku nodded, because she was right. 18 opened the door. As he stepped out, she added, almost like an afterthought, "If you want to be useful, Midoriya, tell your teachers not to let the government write my leash." The door slid shut. Izuku stood there in the hall, feeling like he had just spoken to a storm that was choosing to be quiet. And he knew one thing. If the world pushed her wrong, the storm would stop being quiet. A week passed. The city stayed nervous, like it was waiting for the next shoe to drop. During that week, the commission did what it did best. It tried to turn chaos into paperwork. A meeting was arranged in a neutral building with heavy security and polite smiles, the kind of place where people wore suits and used soft voices to say hard things. Hawks walked in first, wings folded, expression friendly. Aizawa walked in next, Scarf hidden, eyes half-lidded but focused. 18 walked in last. She didn't wear a hero costume. She wore simple clothes UA gave her, a black top, jeans, boots. She looked like someone who could sit in a cafe. She also looked like someone who could break the building in half if she got bored. The commission official sat across from her with a folder. "Thank you for coming," the official said. "We appreciate your cooperation." 18 sat down without speaking. The official slid the folder forward. "This is a temporary agreement," the official said. "A special provisional license. It allows you to assist heroes under supervision." 18 didn't touch the folder. "And in exchange?" she asked. The official smiled. "In exchange, you agree to reasonable restrictions, location tracking, regular evaluations, a promise to not use your abilities in public unless authorized." 18 stared at them. Then she looked at Hawks. Hawks raised his hand slightly, like, "I didn't write this." 18 looked at Aizawa. Aizawa didn't blink. His face said, "I warned you." 18 looked back at the official. "You want to track me?" she said. "Test me, and tell me when I'm allowed to save someone." The official's smile did not change. "We want to keep the public safe." 18's voice stayed calm. "You're not trying to keep them safe," she said. "You're trying to keep them calm." The official's eyes tightened a fraction. "Calm is safety." 18 leaned forward. "No," she said. "Calm is comfort. Safety is real. You don't get real safety by putting chains on the biggest threat in the room and calling it control." The official's smile thinned. "Threat?" 18 pointed at the folder. "This," she said. "This is a threat." Hawks cleared his throat. "Okay," Hawks said, still light. "Maybe we—" 18 held up one hand to stop him, without even looking. She turned to the official again. "If you want me to sign something," she said, "then you sign something too." The official blinked. "Excuse me?" 18's eyes stayed steady. "A contract, not a leash." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. Hawk's lips twitched like he wanted to laugh and didn't dare. 18 continued, crisp and simple. "You want rules? Fine. Here are mine," she said. "No forced medical scans. No restraints. No attempts to shut me down. No secret teams, just in case. If you break that, I leave." The official's smile turned cold. "That is not negotiable," the official said. 18 leaned back. "Then neither am I." The official's voice stayed smooth. "If you refuse, we will be forced to treat you as an unregistered, dangerous individual." 18 tilted her head. "Treat me how?" she asked. The official paused, just long enough for the room to feel it. Hawk's feathers shifted. Aizawa's gaze sharpened. 18's eyes went colder. The official finally said, "We will take steps." 18 stood up. The chairs scraped. Security hands moved near holsters and gear. Not because it would work, because fear needed emotion. 18 didn't move toward anyone. She simply stood and looked at the official. "Here's a step," she said. "Try to take me, and tell me how that ends." The official swallowed, and the smile was gone now. Hawks stepped in fast, voice firm. "Meeting over," Hawks said. "We're done." He turned toward 18, lowering his voice. "Let's go," he said, "before someone says something stupid." 18 followed him out, calm again, but the air around her felt sharp. As they walked, Aizawa fell into step beside her. "You see it now," Aizawa said quietly. 18 didn't look at him. "I saw it the moment I landed." Aizawa's voice stayed flat. "They will push harder now." 18's jaw tightened. "Let them." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "That's exactly the problem." 18 finally looked at him. You think I'm going to snap? I think power gets lonely, Aizawa said, and lonely power makes mistakes. 18 stared at him. Then she said, low and sharp, I'm not lonely, I'm cautious. Aizawa didn't soften. Cautious can still become angry. 18's voice stayed controlled. Then don't help them make me angry. Aizawa held her gaze. He didn't trust her. But he also didn't trust the commission. That was the new shape of the world. Two kinds of fear, pulling in opposite directions. In a hidden room filled with old screens and quiet humming machines, Dr. Garaki watched the public footage with bright eyes. He paused the clip at the moment the pulse hit the air and 18's expression changed. He leaned closer. Interesting, he whispered. A shadowy figure behind him scratched at their neck, impatient. Shigaraki. So? Shigaraki snapped. Can we kill her? Garaki chuckled softly. Kill? Maybe not. Not easily. Shigaraki's fingers twitched, like he wanted to touch something and ruin it. Then what good is she? Garaki turned, eyes gleaming. She is not just strength, he said. She is structure. She is engineered. Shigaraki frowned. Talk normal. Garaki smiled wider. She is not like them, he said. Not like quirks. Not like flesh that grew its power. He tapped the screen. She is built, he said. Which means there may be parts, weaknesses, interfaces. Shigaraki stared. So you want her body? Garaki's smile stayed sweet. I want knowledge, he said. If we understand her, then we understand a new path. Shigaraki's voice rose. I don't want a path. I want the world to fall. Garaki nodded like a patient teacher. And it will, he said. But first, we take the key. He pressed a button. A file opened. A list of names, agents, meeting places. And we do it in a way that makes her isolated, Garaki added, because isolated people are easier to turn into monsters. Shigaraki's grin returned, ugly and eager. Good, he said. Let's make her a monster. Back at UA, Nezu sat with 18 in a quiet lab, not the kind with needles and straps, but the kind with screens and sensors on stands. He had chosen the room on purpose. He wanted her to see the difference. Hawks leaned against a wall, acting casual. Aizawa stood closer to the door, eyes half-lidded. Ready to move. 18 looked at the equipment. No touching, she said. Nezu lifted both hands like a polite surrender. No touching. 18 nodded. Good. Nezu slid a paper across the table. 18 frowned. What is that? Nezu's smile turned playful. A contract draft. Hawks coughed, hiding a laugh. Aizawa blinked once. You actually, Nezu nodded. She requested it. 18 looked at Nezu. You're agreeing. Nezu's eyes stayed sharp. I'm negotiating. Those are different. 18 picked up the paper and scanned it fast. Hawks watched her eyes move. It was unsettling how quickly she read. Like her brain didn't waste time. 18 tapped a line. This says you can evaluate me whenever you want, she said. Nezu nodded. That is standard language. 18 slid the paper back. Remove it. Nezu tilted his head. And in return? 18 stared at him. Then she said, in return, I won't leave. Hawks's smile faded. That was not a joke. Nezu studied her for a beat. Accepted, Nezu said, with added conditions. 18 narrowed her eyes. Like what? Nezu's voice stayed gentle. If a crisis happens, he said, and you act, we need coordination, not permission. Coordination. So no one mistakes you for an enemy. 18's jaw tightened. That's fair, she said, if your heroes stay out of my way. Hawks lifted a hand. We'll try. 18 looked at the sensor stands. What are these? She asked. Nezu spoke like he was explaining to a child, but without talking down. They measure energy in the air, he said. Heat, pressure, electromagnetic waves, things that might tell us what you are doing when you fly or fire a beam. 18 stared. You can't measure that. Nezu's smile widened. Then we learned something. 18 didn't like it, but she liked not knowing even less. Fine, she said, but if this turns into a trap, I leave. Aizawa's voice was flat. Understood. 18 stepped into the marked circle on the floor. Nezu watched the screens. Hawks watched the doors. Aizawa watched 18's hands. Show a small energy release, Nezu said. 18 lifted 2 fingers. A tiny spark of light popped between them like a controlled flash. The sensor spiked. Numbers jumped. Nezu's ears perked. Again, Nezu said softly. 18 did it again. The sensor spiked again. Then, for a fraction of a second, one of the screens flickered. 18's eyes narrowed. That wasn't me. Hawks pushed off the wall. What? Nezu stared at the flicker. Aizawa's head turned toward the hallway, because he heard it too. A faint pulse, like a distant thump. Not sound, something else. 18's posture shifted. Her body was still calm, but her eyes changed. Someone is messing with the air, she said. Nezu's voice dropped. That is not supposed to happen. Hawks's feathers lifted. We're in UA. Who could... The lab lights blinked once. Then the security alarm screamed. Aizawa moved instantly, scarf snapping out. Hawk's wings flared. 18 didn't flinch. She stepped out of the circle and looked at Nezu. You said no traps, she said. Nezu's voice was tight. This is not us. 18's eyes went colder. Then it's them. The attack didn't start with a bomb. It started with the doors. 3 separate doors in 3 separate wings opened at once. Not forced, not broken. Opened. Wei's defenses were built to stop strong people. They were not built to stop the wrong person with the right access. Aizawa sprinted through the corridor, mind sharp, already choosing the worst case. Hawks flew low through the hallway, feathers darting ahead to scout corners. 18 walked, fast but controlled, behind them. She didn't run like a hero. She moved like a fighter who didn't waste motion. They reached a wide lab corridor, and the first threat showed itself. Not a Nomu, not a villain screaming. A group of men and women in plain gear with calm faces and strange devices on their arms. They moved like professionals, not thugs. One raised a handheld emitter. A pulse rippled through the air. 18 felt that static pressure again. Small. Not enough to stop her. Enough to annoy her. Same trick, she said. Aizawa's eyes locked on the nearest attacker. Villains, he snapped. The attackers didn't speak. They spread out, blocking exits. Hawks hissed. They're not here to fight. They're here to grab. 18 looked past them and saw what they were guarding. A cart of equipment. A case labeled with Nezu's codes. Data drives. Her mouth tightened. They want information, she said. Aizawa's scarf whipped out, snaring 2 attackers at once and slamming them into the wall. Hawks's feathers shot forward, pinning hands and knocking devices away. The remaining attackers triggered something on their wrists. Hard, black cuffs flew out like snakes, aimed for 18's arms. She stepped aside and let them miss by inches. Then she caught one cuff midair and squeezed. The metal crumpled like foil. Hawk's eyes widened. Okay. That's... 18 didn't care about his reaction. She moved forward, grabbed the nearest attacker by the front of their vest, and lifted them off the floor. Who sent you? She said. The attacker didn't answer. 18's voice stayed calm, but it turned colder. I'm not asking twice, she said. The attacker pressed a button on their wrist. Smoke burst into the hallway, thick and fast. Hawks cursed. Smokescreen! Aizawa's eyes went wide. He couldn't erase what he couldn't see. 18's eyes narrowed, then she exhaled. A shockwave pushed outward from her body. Not an explosion. A controlled push of air. The smoke blasted down the hall in a single direction like it got slapped. The attackers staggered, exposed. Aizawa's scarf snapped again. Hawks's feathers followed, clean and precise. 18 stepped into the center and ended the rest with quick, non-lethal strikes. One to the shoulder, one to the ribs, one to the back of the knee. The last attacker tried to run with the data case. 18 appeared in front of them. The attacker froze like they hit a wall. 18 took the case from their hands like it weighed nothing. "Bad plan," she said. Then she turned her head slightly. Because she heard something else. A second alarm. Different wing. Aizawa's eyes sharpened. "Multiple teams." Hawks's voice went tight. "They're splitting us." 18 looked down the corridor. "We don't split," she said. "We finish fast." Aizawa nodded once, even though he hated agreeing with her. They moved. They reached the support labs next, and the situation was worse. Students, not many. A small group that had been working late with a teacher present. The attackers had them behind a half-closed security door, using them as a barrier. Hawks stopped short, feathers hovering, ready but restrained. Aizawa's scarf twitched. 18's gaze locked onto the students. Her jaw tightened. Aizawa muttered, "This is what I meant." 18 didn't look at him. "I know." One attacker stepped forward, holding a device with a blinking light. "You stay back," the attacker said, voice steady, "or the door opens and people get hurt." 18 stared at the device. Then she looked at the door. Then she looked at the attacker again. "You're shaking," she said. The attacker's fingers tightened. "I said..." 18 moved. Not at the attacker. At the door. She crossed the space in a blink and placed her palm on the heavy security panel. She didn't rip it off. She didn't blast it. She pressed, and the metal warped inward just enough to jam the mechanism. The door shuddered and locked in place. The attacker's eyes widened. 18 turned back. "Now it can't open," she said. The attacker swung the device toward her. 18 kicked it out of their hand. The device clattered across the floor. Hawk's feathers pinned it. Aizawa's scarf wrapped the attacker's arms. 18 stepped close, eyes cold. "Who sent you?" she asked again. The attacker swallowed. Then a voice crackled from their earpiece, loud enough to echo in the hall. "Abort," the voice said. "We have the sample. Move." 18's eyes narrowed. "Sample?" she repeated. Hawk's feathers twitched. "What sample?" Nezu's voice came through Hawks's earpiece next, sharp for once. "They hit the main server wing," Nezu said. "They pulled data, and they took a component from the energy sensors." 18's mouth tightened. So this wasn't just about fear. This was about learning her. Aizawa's eyes hardened. "Where are they going?" Nezu's reply was quick. "Roof access. North side." Hawks launched instantly. Aizawa ran. 18 didn't run. She rose into the air. It was smooth, quiet. Like gravity agreed with her because it didn't have a choice. The students behind the door stared up through the small window, mouths open. One whispered, "She's flying." Another whispered, "That's not a quirk, is it?" 18 didn't hear them. Or she did, and she didn't care. She followed Hawks into the open air above UA. Wind hit her face. The campus spread below like a map. On the north rooftop, 3 figures sprinted toward the edge carrying a case. Hawks dove, feathers slicing forward to pin them. 2 fell. The third leaped anyway, activating a grappling rig. 18 appeared above them. The runner looked up and froze. 18 reached down, and grabbed the rig line with 2 fingers. The line went taut. 18 pulled. The runner flew upward like a fish on a hook, slammed into the rooftop, and went still. Hawks landed beside her, breathing hard. "Nice," Hawks said. Then his face tightened. "But," he pointed. Down on the street outside UA's boundary, a dark van was already moving. Too fast, too planned. Aizawa reached the roof, scarf trailing, eyes burning. "They're getting away," Hawks said. 18 stared at the van. She could catch it in seconds. She could also tear half the road apart doing it if she wasn't careful. And she knew what they wanted. They wanted her on camera again. They wanted the monster chasing. 18's jaw clenched. Aizawa watched her face. "Don't," he said. "That's what they want." 18 didn't look at him. "I know," she said. Hawks swallowed. "Then what do we do?" 18's gaze stayed locked on the van until it became a dot. Then she turned away. "We harden the doors," she said, "and we find out who has the keys." Nezu's voice came through again, low and worried. "And we ask a bigger question," Nezu added. "How did they know what to target?" Aizawa's eyes narrowed. Inside UA, a system had been touched. Outside UA, an enemy had planned like a government. 18 stood on the rooftop with the wind tugging at her hair. Her voice was quiet, almost to herself. "They're not trying to beat me," she said. "They're trying to own me." Hawks looked at her. For once, he didn't joke. "Welcome to Hero Society," he said. 18's eyes stayed cold. "Then your society is sick," she replied. And below them, the city kept filming, kept guessing, and kept arguing. Because the story had become public now. And someone, somewhere, was already writing the next chapter for her. The next day, the leak hit. Not a real leak, a crafted one. A video appeared online showing 18 in the street, beam firing, and then, cut. Another angle that made it look like she had aimed near civilians on purpose. It was edited, cleanly done, enough to fool people who wanted to be fooled. The caption read, "Unlicensed super threat. Government hides her." Protesters showed up outside UA, not thousands, dozens at first, then more. Some held signs that said, "Protect our kids." Some held signs that said, "Let her go home." Some held signs that said, "Lock her up." 18 watched from inside a hallway window. She didn't look scared. She looked tired. Hawks stood beside her, arms folded. "You see," Hawks said quietly, "this is the game. You don't just fight villains, you fight stories." 18's eyes stayed on the crowd. "In my world," she said, "if someone lied about you, you found them." Hawks nodded. "And here?" 18's voice went flat. "Here, the lie becomes law." Hawks didn't argue, because she wasn't wrong. Aizawa approached from behind, stopping close enough to speak low. "We found the face," Aizawa said. Hawks turned. "The guy in the crowd?" Aizawa nodded. "He showed up again near the protesters. Same calm look, same habit of watching exits." 18's eyes narrowed. "Where is he now?" Aizawa stared at her. "Not your job." 18 looked at him. "You're still trying to put me in your rules." Aizawa's voice stayed flat. "I'm trying to stop you from walking into a trap." 18 held his gaze. Then she said, "Then stop pretending your rules will protect me." Aizawa didn't answer, because he didn't know if they would, and that was the worst part. Days later, the side work began. Nezu offered 18 a deal that felt less like a leash and more like a plan. A controlled research schedule, transparent logs, no hidden tests, a clear goal. Find the cause of the sky tear, find the pattern of the pulse, find a path home, if it existed. 18 agreed because it matched her own reason for staying. Not the hero speeches, not the rankings, not the cameras. Control. She refused to be controlled again, so she wanted to understand how control was being attempted. The work moved from the simple lab to the deeper support wing, where UA kept its most sensitive systems. Nezu walked beside her with a clipboard and the calm of a chess player. "We will not poke you," Nezu said. "We will observe the space around you." 18's eyes narrowed. "Same thing, different words." Nezu smiled. "Yes, but the difference is consent." 18 didn't like it, but she respected it. Aizawa stayed nearby, always. Hawks floated in and out, half guard, half messenger. And against Aizawa's wishes, a few students became involved in small ways. Not face-to-face at first, just questions, notes, curiosity. Midoriya asked Nezu for permission to study the energy readings as a learning exercise. Nezu, of course, said yes, because Nezu liked minds that learned fast. One afternoon, Midoriya got his chance to be in the room. He stood behind a marked line, hands clasped, trying not to explode with questions. 18 glanced at him. "You again," she said. Midoriya nodded fast. "Yes. Sorry. I'm here to help with analysis." 18 looked at Nezu. "He's safe?" Nezu's eyes gleamed. "Mentally? No. But morally? Yes." Midoriya flushed. 18's mouth twitched, almost amused. "Fine," she said. "But if he asks dumb questions, I leave." Midoriya swallowed and nodded like his life depended on it. Nezu adjusted the sensors. "Small release again, please." 18 lifted her fingers. A spark of energy flashed. The numbers jumped. Midoriya's eyes widened. "It's stable. It's like a constant engine." 18 glanced at him. "That's a good description." Midoriya blinked. "So, you were like a machine?" The room tightened. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. Hawks held his breath. 18 stared at Midoriya. Midoriya's face went pale. I didn't mean..." 18's voice stayed calm. "It's fine. I'm not insulted by facts." Midoriya swallowed. "So you're not fully human?" 18's eyes sharpened. "I'm fully me," she said. Midoriya nodded quickly. "Yes, sorry, yes." Nezu watched 18 carefully. Then, a flicker hit the screens again. Not once, 3 times. 18's posture shifted. Her eyes narrowed hard. "That pulse," she said. Hawk's feathers lifted. "Again?" The lab lights blinked. Then the sensors spiked without 18 moving. Midoriya stared at the screen. "Wait, this isn't from her. This is an external pattern. It's like a signal." Nezu's voice went low. "From where?" Aizawa's head turned toward the ceiling, toward the ventilation. A small drone dropped from a ceiling panel like a spider falling from a web. It wasn't a UA drone. It was black, simple, and ugly. The drone's core glowed. 18's eyes went cold. "Shut it off," she said. The drone pulsed again. 18 felt the static pressure hit her body, stronger than before. Still not enough to stop her, enough to make her step feel slightly heavier. Midoriya's eyes widened. It's trying to interfere with her function. Aizawa moved, scarf snapping, aiming to crush the drone. The drone fired a small dart, not at Aizawa, at Midoriya. Midoriya jerked back, but he was too slow. 18 moved. She appeared between the dart and Midoriya, caught it between 2 fingers, and crushed it. Then she looked up at the drone. "You want my attention," she said. The drone pulsed again, and a speaker crackled. A distorted voice came out, not shouting, not laughing, just calm. "Android 18, the voice said. The room went dead still. Midoriya froze like someone had turned him to stone. Aizawa's eyes narrowed to slits. Hawk's face tightened. Nezu's ears lifted sharply. 18's jaw clenched. No one in this world should know that word. Android. 18 didn't speak for a full second. Then she stepped forward. The drone fired another pulse. 18 didn't dodge. She reached up, grabbed the drone, and squeezed. The plastic cracked. The glow died. Silence dropped again. Midoriya's voice was barely a whisper. "Android," he repeated. 18 turned to him. For the first time since she arrived, her calm looked like it was holding something heavier. "Yes," she said. "That's what I am." Aizawa's voice was flat, but sharper than a knife. "Explain," he said. 18's eyes moved to the cameras in the corners. Nezu followed her gaze and nodded once. Nezu pressed a button. The cameras shut off in this room. At least the UA ones did. 18 exhaled. Then she spoke in clean beats, like she couldn't afford to drown in her own past. "My name is Android 18, she said. "I was changed by a scientist. I escaped. I fought people who were stronger than anything you've seen. I built a life after that." Midoriya's eyes were wide, but not with fear, with understanding. "You were made," he said softly. "Without choice." 18 looked at him, and something in her eyes eased a fraction. "Yes," she said, "and that's why I don't sign leashes." Aizawa didn't soften, but his voice changed, not kinder, more serious. "If villains can name you," Aizawa said, "then they have information we don't." Nezu's smile disappeared. "Which means," Nezu said quietly, "the raid was not the main goal." Hawks's feathers lifted. "The main goal was confirming what she is," Hawks said. 18's eyes went cold again. "And now they confirmed it," she said. Midoriya swallowed. "Who was that voice?" 18 stared at the crushed drone in her hand. "I don't know," she said, "but I know what they want." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "You." 18 nodded once. "And if they can't take me, they'll try to build something like me." Nezu's voice went low. "Then we have entered a new phase," Nezu said. Outside the lab, alarms began to sound again. Not inside UA this time. Across the city. Hawk's earpiece buzzed with frantic voices. "Multiple incidents," a dispatcher shouted. "Villain activity spiking. Nomu sightings. Civilians in danger." Hawks looked at 18. The world was pulling her toward the street again, toward cameras, toward the story. 18's face didn't change, but her eyes showed the choice forming. Midoriya stepped forward, voice quiet but clear. "You don't have to be their story," he said. 18 looked at him. Then she looked at the door. Then she looked at Aizawa and Hawks and Nezu. "You're right," she said. And the way she said it was the most frightening part. Because it meant she had decided something. Not what the commission wanted. Not what the villains wanted. Her own thing. 18 walked out of the lab with the calm of a person who had stopped being confused. And behind her, Nezu stared at the crushed drone and felt a rare, sharp worry. Because now the world didn't just have a powerful stranger, it had a named one. A built one. And somewhere in the dark, someone had spoken her true label like it was a claim. Android 18. And the war for who owned that name had started. 2 weeks later, UA had stopped feeling like a new cage. It still had cameras, it still had locked doors, it still had people watching her like they were trying to solve a math problem. But now, they also had a routine. Android 18 woke up before sunrise out of habit, not need. She stood in the empty training yard while the air was cold and quiet. She moved through simple drills, fast steps, clean turns, short strikes, not to get stronger, to stay sharp. She didn't like being still. Being still was when people started making plans around you. Aizawa watched sometimes from the shadows near the doors. He didn't hide it. He also didn't talk much. When he did, it was never small talk. "You're calmer," he said one morning. 18 didn't stop moving. "I'm not confused anymore." "That's not the same as calm," Aizawa said. 18 glanced at him. "And you're still suspicious." Aizawa didn't deny it. "That's my job," 18 scoffed. "No, that's your personality." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. For half a second, it looked like he might argue. Then he simply said, "Maybe." That was the closest thing to a joke she had ever heard from him. The city outside UA stayed tense, but it also kept going. Schools opened. Trains ran. People went to work. People argued online. Then they argued in person. Then they went back to work again. And the villain attacks kept happening. Not huge wars, not one big explosion. Small, ugly spikes. A no-moo here, a hostage stunt there. A building accident that wasn't an accident. Always near cameras. Always loud enough to become a headline. Hawks became the bridge between worlds, between UA's caution and the Commission's pressure, between public fear and private reality. He met 18 at the edge of campus one afternoon, wings tucked, sunglasses on, acting like he was visiting for fun. "You're trending again," Hawks said. 18 didn't look up from the paper in her hands. "I don't care." Hawks leaned closer anyway. "You should care a little. The stories shape what people are allowed to do to you." 18 tapped the paper. It was Nezu's updated contract draft. She had crossed out half of it. "This is a story too," she said. "This one has signatures." Hawks laughed once, then stopped when he saw her face. She wasn't joking. Aizawa stepped out behind them, like he had been there the whole time. "The Commission wants another meeting," Hawks said, voice lower now. 18 finally looked up. "No," Hawks spread his hands. "You don't even know what they want." 18's eyes were flat. "A leash." Aizawa's gaze tightened. "They'll try again, in a new way." 18 nodded once. "Let them." Hawks stared at her. "Do you have a plan besides let them?" 18's voice stayed calm. "Yes." Hawks waited. 18 looked him straight in the eyes. "If they touch me," she said, "I leave, and I stop saving their city." Hawks went quiet. Aizawa didn't move, but his jaw tightened. "That's a threat," Hawks said. 18 shook her head. "No, it's a boundary." Hawks exhaled. "In this world, people don't like boundaries they can't cross." 18 gave him a cold look. "Then they'll learn." Hawks didn't argue. He only said, "Just try not to teach them with a crater." 18 didn't answer. But her eyes flicked toward the training yard's repaired ground. She remembered the street, the bus stop, the cameras. She remembered how easy it would be to end everything. And she remembered how she chose not to. That choice was the only thing keeping this world from turning her into an enemy. Nezu tried to keep the research calm and honest. He had set the rules clearly. No touching her, no forced scans, no secret tests, only sensors in the air, only data from distance. Midoriya joined the work more often now, because he was the only student who could look at a screen full of strange numbers and not get bored. He stood beside Nezu in the lab, eyes wide behind freckles, whispering as if the data might hear him. "The pulse pattern is repeating," Midoriya said. "It's like a signal, sent in bursts." Nezu's eyes narrowed. "From where?" Midoriya swallowed. "We can't pinpoint it yet, but it's not random." 18 stood in the marked circle, arms crossed, watching them. "So someone is poking the air," she said, "like a hand tapping glass." Midoriya nodded quickly. "Yes, and it spikes most during public incidents." 18's face didn't change. "So they use chaos to hide the signal." Nezu's ears perked. "Yes." Midoriya's voice went softer. "They're learning you." 18's hands tightened just slightly. Nezu saw it. Midoriya saw it too. Neither of them said the obvious out loud. Learning was the first step to control. That evening, All Might asked to speak with her alone, not in a lab, not in a meeting room, on a quiet walkway near the training yard, where the wind was soft and the sky was normal. 18 stood with her arms crossed. All Might stood across from her in his thin form, hands open. "I heard what you said," All Might began, "about boundaries." 18 didn't look away. "Good." All Might nodded slowly. "I agree that you should not be treated like property." 18's eyes narrowed. "Then stop them." All Might's smile flickered. "I cannot order the commission." 18 tilted her head. "So your symbol doesn't control anything." All Might's expression stayed gentle, but the truth hurt. "I control myself," he said, "and I try to inspire others to do the same." 18 stared at him. "In my world, inspiration doesn't stop monsters." All Might's voice stayed steady. "Sometimes it does. Sometimes it stops a person from becoming a monster." 18's jaw tightened. All Might stepped closer, still respectful, still careful. "I won't ask you to wear our title," he said. "But I will ask you something simpler." 18 waited. "All those times you could have chosen the easy path," All Might said. "You didn't." 18's eyes stayed cold, but her shoulders shifted a fraction, like she didn't like being seen that clearly. All Might continued. "So I believe you are not here to harm us, but if you decide to leave, people will suffer." 18's voice stayed flat. "That's their problem." All Might nodded once. "It is, and it will also become yours, because you will remember it." 18 didn't answer right away, because he was right. She hated that he was right. A day later, the offer arrived. Not from the commission, from the dark. It came in the form of a message delivered through a broken radio on a rooftop, like someone wanted it to feel old and secret on purpose. Hawks found it first. He was flying patrol over Musutafu when one of his feathers picked up the signal, a strange voice repeating the same phrase. "Bring the anomaly, alone, or watch the city burn." Hawks landed on the roof and stared at the radio like it had insulted him. "Classic," he muttered. He didn't take the bait. He brought it to UA. And Nezu, after one look, made a decision that surprised everyone. "We will not ignore it," Nezu said. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "It's a trap," Nezu nodded. "Yes." Hawks crossed his arms. "So why go?" Nezu's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Because they want her isolated," Nezu said. "And if we only hide, they control the pace. We need to learn what they believe they can do." Aizawa's jaw tightened. "With what cost?" Nezu looked at 18. "With her consent," Nezu said. All eyes turned. 18 stood with her arms crossed, listening. "What's the plan?" she asked. Hawk sighed. "Plan is, we don't let you walk into a trap." 18's eyes narrowed. "Then don't." Aizawa stepped forward. "We can't stop you." 18's voice was calm. "Good. Then you can join." Nezu's ears lifted. "You want us with you?" 18 looked at him like it was obvious. "I'm not an idiot," she said. "I don't go alone. That's how people get controlled." Hawks blinked, then smiled, a real smile this time. "Okay," Hawks said. "I like that." Aizawa didn't smile, but he nodded once. They moved that night, quiet and fast, with no public notice. Hawks above, eyes scanning. Aizawa on rooftops, scarf ready. 18 moving like she owned the air. The meeting point was an abandoned industrial block near the edge of the city. Empty warehouses, rusted fences, broken streetlights. It smelled like old oil and wet concrete. Landed in the center of the street, boots cracking small stones. Aizawa stayed hidden behind a building corner. Hawks hovered high, keeping distance. A voice came through speakers hidden somewhere. Smooth, calm, almost polite. Android 18, the voice said. 18's eyes narrowed. Show yourself. A soft laugh. Not yet, the voice replied. I prefer to speak first. 18 listened, face flat. I know what your world did to you, the voice said. I know what it means to be turned into a thing. 18's jaw tightened. And I know what this world is doing now, the voice continued. They want a leash. They want a label. They want a button they can press. 18 didn't answer. The voice stayed gentle, like it was trying to be a friend. I can offer you something no hero can, it said. A way home, and a promise. No one controls you again. Hawk's feathers twitched in the dark. Aizawa's eyes narrowed so hard it hurt. 18 stared into the empty street. You're all for one, she said. The voice laughed again, like a compliment. Smart, it said. Very smart. 18 didn't flinch at the name. She only said, Why would I trust you? Because I understand power, All for One replied. And I understand cages. 18's voice went colder. You build cages? A pause. Then the voice softened even more. Sometimes, it said. But I also open them. Imagine it, 18. A door, a rip, back to your family, back to your life. You leave this childish system behind. Family. The word hit harder than any pulse. 18's fingers flexed once. Aizawa saw it and felt his stomach tighten. He didn't know her full past, but he understood that word could move mountains. All for One continued, pressing carefully. I can give you a quiet world, he said. No cameras, no rules, no smiling officials. 18's eyes turned sharp. And what do you take? She asked. All for One didn't pretend. I take the future, he said. I take a world that stops pretending it can control the strong with paper. You and I, we could remake it. 18 stood very still. Then she spoke with a calm that felt like ice. You sound like the people who changed me, she said. The voice paused. 18 continued, stepping forward, eyes locked on the speakers. They also promised a future, she said. They also said they understood. They also said it was for a better world. Aizawa's jaw tightened. Hawks held his breath. All for One's voice turned slightly sharper. I am not them. 18's answer came fast. Yes, you are, she said. Maybe you wear a suit instead of a lab coat. Maybe you use words instead of needles. But it's the same thing. A silence. Then All for One's voice returned, still calm, but no longer friendly. Then you refuse, he said. 18 didn't blink. I refuse. Another pause. And your way home? All for One asked. 18's eyes stayed steady. I'll find my own door, she said, without becoming someone's weapon. A soft laugh again. So noble, All for One said. Then let's see how long you stay noble when your choices hurt people. The streetlights flickered. A pulse rolled through the air, stronger than before. 18 felt her system stutter for a split second. Not shut down, not helpless, but slowed enough that she noticed. Her eyes narrowed hard. From the warehouse doors, creatures stepped out. Not one. 6. Nomu, each built differently. One with thick armor plates, one with long arms like cables, one with a mouth that hissed and leaked smoke, one that moved low like an animal. Aizawa cursed under his breath. Hawk's feathers lifted like blades. 18 didn't look afraid. She looked annoyed. All right, she said quietly. Now we fight. The first Nomu launched toward her. 18 moved first. She vanished, reappeared behind it, and slammed a knee into its spine. The impact snapped it down into the street. The ground cracked. The Nomu tried to rise. 18 grabbed its head and drove it into the pavement again, hard enough to stop its movement. Hawks dove, feathers flying, slicing the air to pin the second Nomu's arms. It fought like a machine, ignoring pain. Aizawa appeared, eyes open wide. erasing quirks as fast as he could. The armored Nomu stumbled when its speed boost died. But it still swung. Hawks dodged. Aizawa ducked. The fist smashed a concrete pillar. 18 shot upward, then dropped down with a heel strike onto the armored Nomu's shoulder. The armor cracked. It didn't break fully. She frowned. "Stubborn," she muttered. A pulse hit again. 18 felt the stutter. This time, she didn't fight it head-on. She adjusted. She moved with cleaner timing. She avoided long floating. She kept her power tight. Aizawa noticed and felt a chill. She was adapting to a weapon made to study her. That meant the villains had chosen the wrong kind of target. Hawks shouted, "They're spacing the pulses! They're trying to catch her between movements!" Aizawa's eyes snapped to the warehouse. He saw the source. A device mounted inside, glowing with that same ugly signal pattern. "Emitter!" Aizawa snapped. "Inside!" Hawks tried to dive for it. A Nomu with cable arms snapped them out and yanked Hawks sideways mid-air. Hawks grunted, feathers scattering. He didn't crash, but he lost position. Aizawa ran toward the warehouse anyway. He couldn't erase the machine. He could erase the Nomu guarding it. He locked eyes with the cable-armed Nomu. Its movement slowed. Good. Then another Nomu slammed into Aizawa from the side, knocking him through a wall. Aizawa hit concrete hard, breath leaving his lungs. He forced himself up, blinking to keep erasure active. 18 saw him go down. Her calm snapped into something sharper. Not rage. Focus. She crossed the street in a blink, appeared near Aizawa, and caught a second strike meant for him. The fist hit her forearm. It felt like nothing. 18 turned and punched once. The Nomu flew backward through the warehouse door. 18 looked down at Aizawa. "You okay?" Aizawa coughed. "Fine." 18 nodded. "Stay alive." Then she moved again, straight into the warehouse. Inside, the pulse device glowed like a heart that didn't belong. 2 Nomu guarded it. 18 didn't waste time. She fired a thin beam at the floor in front of the first Nomu, blowing dust up into its face and knocking it off balance. Then, she hit it in the jaw so hard its feet lifted off the ground. It crashed into the wall and stopped moving. The second Nomu lunged. 18 sidestepped and chopped the back of its knee. It dropped. She grabbed its neck, spun, and slammed it into the ground. Then she walked to the pulse device. It pulsed again, like it was proud. 18 stared at it. "You think you can touch me?" she said. She placed her hand on it and squeezed. The metal crumpled. The glow died. Outside, the pulses stopped. 18 felt her body return to its normal, smooth flow, like water going back to its channel. She turned and stepped back out. Hawks had pinned one Nomu to a wall with a storm of feathers. Aizawa had another frozen under erasure. The last Nomu tried to flee into the shadows. 18 lifted one hand and fired a short beam that cut the ground in front of it. The Nomu skidded, trapped. Then she was there. One hit. It dropped. Silence returned, broken only by Hawks breathing hard and Aizawa's quiet cough. 18 looked up at the dark sky. "You wanted to test me," she said, voice calm but cold. "You got your test." All for One's voice returned through the broken speakers, softer now. "Impressive," he said. "And now you understand. I don't need to defeat you. I only need to place you in situations where your power becomes a problem." 18's eyes narrowed. "Like making me fight in public." "Yes," he said, "and your government will do the rest for me. They will fear you. They will chase you. They will try to protect the world from you." A pause. "And you," he said, "will eventually get tired." 18 didn't answer the threat with emotion. She answered with truth. "Maybe," she said, "but not today." The speakers went dead. Hawks landed fully now, shoulders tight. He's gone. Aizawa stared at 18. He wanted to see if the pulse device would slow you enough. 18 nodded. It didn't. Hawks rubbed his forehead. But it worked a little. 18's eyes turned hard. A little. Aizawa's voice was flat. That means they'll improve it. 18 looked toward the city, toward the lights in the distance. Then I improved too, she said. They returned to UA before sunrise, and Nezu listened to the report with an expression that was too calm. He didn't like that All for One had spoken to her. He liked even less that All for One had named her again, like it was a claim. By noon, the Commission's response arrived, not by email, by force. A convoy rolled up to UA's gate with clean vehicles and armored uniforms. A team stepped out wearing support gear that looked new. Too new. Hawk stood at the front line beside Nezu and Aizawa, wings half open. All Might arrived too, thin form, eyes sharp. And 18 walked out last. No fear. No rush. She looked at the convoy and sighed. This is the leash, she said. The commission official from before stepped forward, face polite. Android 18, they said loudly, so the cameras outside the gate would catch it. By authority of the Hero Public Safety Commission, you are requested to submit to a safety evaluation. Requested. But the team behind them raised devices that hummed with that same pulse pattern. 18's eyes went cold. You brought toys, she said. The official smiled. We brought precautions. Nezu's voice stayed calm. You are on UA property. You do not have jurisdiction here. The official's smile thinned. We do, when the public is at risk. Hawks's voice turned sharp. You don't even know what those devices will do. The official didn't look at him. We know enough. 18 stepped forward. You want an evaluation, she said. Fine. Evaluate this. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded paper. A contract. She held it out. The official blinked. What is that? 18's voice was steady. A deal, she said. You want rules? You don't get them for free. You sign too. The official's eyes narrowed. We do not negotiate with threats. 18 tilted her head. Then stop treating me like one. The official's calm cracked. You are not a citizen, they snapped. You are not registered. You are not human under our classifications. Hawk's feathers twitched dangerously. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. All Might's voice cut in, low but firm. Enough, he said. The official hesitated, then pressed forward anyway. The pulse devices hummed louder. The air tightened. 18 felt the static pressure brush her skin. This time it was different. Stronger than Garaki's drone. Cleaner. It wasn't enough to stop her, but it was enough to tell her a truth. They had been studying her, and now they were willing to use what they learned. 18's gaze moved over the team, over the devices, over the cameras filming outside the gate. A single wrong move, and the story would become a weapon. Monster at UA. Unlicensed threat attacks government. All for One would love it. Hawks watched her face and knew she was doing math in her head. Not power math, damage math, story math. 18 exhaled slowly. Then she did something no one expected. She stepped back. Not surrender. Control. She held the contract out again. You want a safe world, she said loudly, clear enough for cameras. Then make safe rules. The official's jaw tightened. Nezu spoke calmly, like a teacher correcting a child. This is the safe rule, Nezu said. Consent, rights, coordination, not collars. The official's eyes flicked to the cameras. They didn't want a debate on film. They wanted a capture. So they changed tactics. Fine, the official said, voice smoothing out again. We will return with a formal order. They signaled the convoy. The team stepped back, but not before one of them accidentally, aimed their pulse device closer. The hum sharpened. 18 felt the stutter again, a fraction, and something inside her snapped, not into rage, but into certainty. She moved so fast the cameras barely caught it. One moment the pulse device was raised. The next moment it was in her hand. Crushed. The team gasped, stumbling back. Hawks's heart jumped into his throat. Aizawa's scarf snapped half an inch, then stopped as he realized she wasn't attacking the person. Only the tool. 18 dropped the crushed device at the official's feet. Her voice was calm, almost bored. "Next time," she said, "bring paper. Not weapons." The official's face went pale. They backed away faster now. Retreat turning into a scramble to look controlled on camera. The convoy left. The gate area stayed tense for a full minute after they were gone. Hawks let out a slow breath. "That," he said, "was almost a disaster." 18 looked at him. "No, that was me preventing one." Aizawa's voice was flat. "You could have started a war." 18's eyes narrowed. "I didn't." All Might stepped forward, gaze steady. "You held back," he said. 18's jaw tightened. "Because I chose to." Nezu's eyes were sharp, measuring. "And you made a statement," Nezu added. 18 looked at the crushed device on the ground. "Yes," Hawks swallowed. "They'll come again." 18 nodded once. "Then I'll keep saying no." That night, Midoriya found her again, not in the guest hall, but near the training yard fence, where she stood looking out at the city lights. He walked up slowly, careful not to startle her. "You didn't fight them," Midoriya said. 18's eyes stayed on the city. "They wanted me to," Midoriya nodded. "So you chose the harder thing." 18 glanced at him. "You think that's heroic?" Midoriya hesitated, then said it anyway. "I think it's responsible." 18 went quiet. Midoriya held a notebook against his chest like a shield. "I wrote down the pulse patterns," he said. "Not for the commission, for you, so you can understand what they're doing to you." 18 looked at the notebook. Then she held out her hand. Midoriya placed it in her palm. 18 flipped through it fast. Her eyes moved like a scanner, but her face stayed human in the ways that mattered. "This is good," she said. Midoriya's shoulders loosened. "Really?" 18 nodded. "Yes." Midoriya swallowed. "Are you going to leave?" he asked. 18's eyes moved back to the city. She thought of her world, her real life, a husband who made her laugh when she didn't want to, a little girl with bright eyes who called her Mom. She thought of being taken apart by people who said it was for science. She thought of this world trying to do the same thing with nicer words. Then she thought of the kids on the street, the ones she picked up and carried like they were feathers. And she thought of Midoriya standing beside her now, trying to help with nothing but a notebook and stubborn kindness. "I don't know," 18 said honestly. "Not yet." Midoriya's throat tightened. "If you stay, the villains will keep coming." 18's voice stayed calm. "If I leave," she said, "they'll come anyway. They'll just hurt people who can't stop them." Midoriya nodded, eyes shining with something he tried to hide. 18 looked down at the notebook again. Then she said the most important part, quietly. "I'm not staying for your system," she said. "I'm staying for my choice." Midoriya nodded. "That's enough," he whispered. And for the first time, 18 believed him. The city didn't become peaceful. It became different. Word spread that UA had refused the commission's evaluation. Some people cheered. Some people panicked. Some people accused UA of hiding a weapon. But the next time a Nomu appeared near cameras, something else happened too. It went down in seconds. No big beam. No wide destruction. Just a blur, a clean hit, and a monster collapsing like a puppet whose strings got cut. People didn't get a flashy show. They got safety. That made the story harder to twist. All for One didn't stop. He simply adjusted. He always did. His plans grew quieter. His agents became smarter. He aimed for long games, not short wins. The commission didn't stop either. It shifted into bureaucracy, into legal threats, into quiet pressure. UA held its line. 18 held hers. She signed a contract in the end, not with the commission, with Nezu. It wasn't a hero license. It wasn't a leash. It was a clear agreement. Coordination during crises, privacy in return, and a simple line that made Hawks laugh when he read it. Property damage caused during civilian rescue will be handled by the institution. Hawks pointed at it. You really put that in? 18 stared at him. It matters. Nezu smiled. It does. Aizawa didn't smile, but he didn't object either. He still watched her like a risk. But now there was something else mixed into his stare. Respect. Not trust. Not yet. But respect. The city called her many names. Some kind, some ugly. But she stopped letting the names matter. Because she had one truth she didn't need permission to keep. She would not be owned. And she would not pretend she was weak just to make other people comfortable. Later, when the campus was quiet and the training fields were empty, 18 sat on the edge of a rooftop and watched the sky. It was normal tonight. No tear. No bright cut. No door. Just clouds drifting in the dark. Footsteps approached behind her. She didn't turn, because she already knew who it was by the steady pace. All Might stopped a few steps away. You chose to stay, he said softly. 18 looked forward. For now. All Might nodded. That is more than I expected. 18's voice was flat. Don't make it a speech. All Might's mouth twitched. I won't? He stepped beside her and looked at the same sky. I used to believe I could carry everything alone, he said. 18 didn't answer. She didn't need to. All Might continued anyway, quietly, like he was speaking to himself as much as to her. And then I learned, he said, that a symbol can't be a cage either. Not for me, not for anyone. 18's eyes narrowed slightly. Your world still tries. All Might nodded. Yes. A long silence stretched. Then 18 spoke, voice low. In my world, she said, I have a family. All Might turned his head slightly, careful not to push. A husband, 18 added. A daughter. All Might's expression softened. You miss them. 18 didn't like the softness, but she didn't deny the truth. Yes, she said. All Might looked back at the sky. I hope you find your door, he said. And I hope you don't have to become something you hate to get there. 18's jaw tightened. I won't. All Might believed her. Not because she was strong, because she had already proven something rarer. Control. All Might took a slow breath, then said, This world has been changed by your arrival. 18 glanced at him. Good. All Might smiled faintly. Yes. Good. He turned to leave. Before he walked away, 18 spoke one more line, simple and clear. If your people want safety, she said, they should stop trying to buy it with chains. All Might paused, then nodded once. I will remember that, he said. He left her there with the sky. 18 stared at the clouds for a long time, not hoping, not praying, just thinking. This world had rules that didn't always make sense. It had heroes who tried anyway. It had villains who used stories like knives. And it had a place for someone like her, not as a title, but as a choice. 18 stood up and looked out over the campus lights. Tomorrow would bring another plan, another trap, another headline. But tonight, she had one quiet truth. She was not a weapon in anyone's hand. She was a person making a decision. And in this world full of licenses and labels, that decision might be the strongest thing of all.